Welcome to Knock 'em Dead, a comedy podcast that deals with the one thing we all experience yet never talk about: death. Episode 8, Compassion Fatigue. Compassion fatigue, the empathy expressed, the care too much cannonball, helping others with all your heart while cruising the roller coaster of emotions and handing out love and support like Jordan almonds at a southern baby shower. Giving all you have until one day you hit a wall and realize that you'd rather punch that old lady in the elevator from apartment 3B because she smiles with too many teeth than care for or lose one more person. And you've arrived at the station of compassion fatigue, the emotional checkpoint on the express line to not giving an F, where you try to choose between getting back on the caregiver train or just lay down on the tracks. Compassion fatigue is the moment where you need to take a minute for yourself because you're so burned out, crying feels like pleasuring yourself with sandpaper. Your empathy is drained, and you suddenly couldn't care if one more person lives or dies. You've become an even bigger asshole than your sister says you are. But you're the only one truly there for that person at their lowest point. So do you step away? Could you, if it meant saving yourself? How far does love go? How high is the guilt mountain? How long could your soul hold out? I'm Rachel Bradley, with my co-host Christopher Titus. This is Knock 'em Dead.
You quit more than just drinking, right? All at once?
All I do is quit, right? I just fucking
There's a
quit.
list of shit. He couldn't even do it at once. He spread it out over like a decade.
Yeah, I just keep quitting. In fact, I'll be quitting here in about an hour. That's what I do.
He's got a
How
couple.
is the smoking going?
That's the last bastion for me. I've got it down to not too many a day, but I'm
Not too many. Very vague number.
Not too
Depends
many
on
a
the
day
day.
is better than a pack a day.
Yes, it is. It is.
See, I always tell him that. I say he gave up everything else. What do you want from the
But
man?
I got to be careful not to use that as justification to keep going with
Oh,
those.
then don't talk to me because
yeah.
I'll give you
Well,
justification.
that's why I call you.
all day long.
Did you hear we lost Richard Lewis today?
I just heard that on the way
Yeah.
over here. Rest in peace. One of the greats.
One of the greats.
absolute greats.
One of the few that you
Yep.
can say, no one else did what he did.
Yeah, no. Total original.
Nobody else did
Total
what he did.
original.
Did you work with him?
I never did. No, I crossed paths with him a couple times in the clubs
Me
and
too.
mutual friends, that type of thing. And I've seen him 100 times. But yeah,
Highly respected in the
Oh,
community, right?
comic. Just out there on the edge in some weird space that only he owns.
Yep.
You got to respect that.
That's
you
what I
know?
was thinking today when we heard. I was thinking he's the only guy that did what he did.
Yeah.
The only guy that did what he did.
I like to just roll into this with that little tribute to an awesome comic that we lost, respected by two of these, like I would say, two of the greatest comics that we have
Well, we're old.
living.
Yeah,
We're old comics. You
Yeah.
can say that. Been doing it
We've
a
lived
long
You're
longer
time.
than
either
Richard
dead
Lewis.
or you got good. That's the key in comedy. Welcome to Knock 'em Dead, episode whatever this is.
6 or 7.
No, we're way past that. Super excited to have this guest today. You guys know my co-host here, Mr. Titus.
What's up? I love being the co-host. I don't have to carry this.
You're the
Tell
eye
you.
candy of this show, I
He
guess.
is.
Yeah,
Is that
I'm
it?
pretty.
Is.
I'm
Just
saying.
sit there,
You're
be
the pretty girl? All right.
And someone who we love and admire a great deal in life as well as in comedy, Mr. Billy Gardell.
Well, I
Yay.
love you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
I think we should cover that at first because Billy gives a lot of life lessons.
No, I
Without-
share experience.
He shares experience.
I find that if you give opinion, no one listens. But
Yeah,
if there's
you're-
a moment to share experience, then that lets somebody think
Well,
for themselves.
So I came home one night. The reason this podcast happened is I came home one night after talking to you on the phone, and you would call me. Like in the last couple of years, you have lost
5.
5
Wow.
friends.
My dad, and in the last 5 years, I've lost my dad and 4 very dear friends. My dad went to lung cancer. 3 others went to lung cancer. 1 went to liver failure, and the other was a heart attack.
and you're having problems quitting smoking.
Yeah.
Welcome to your intervention.
I'm going to tell you again that I
We're
came
not
here.
filming any of this.
I came here to talk
Will?
to Ray. I came here to talk to Ray. There's plenty of guilt at my house. I just came here to have a conversation with Ray
We're just trying to talk. We never get
Is
to
there
talk.
like a button you can push when we want him to say something?
no.
Code of silence.
Have you met him? If you find that button, please let me know. I feel like you're closer to finding that button than I am.
But here's what so few people do, and and I've heard as this has gone on, I've heard every
we
time
talk a lot with that.
Yeah, and a lot of people won't step into it. You're like me, like you just step into it. Like even like at a show, some guy in a wheelchair rose up. I go, what happened?
Yeah.
Explain this.
Yeah. Tell me your story.
Everyone's like behind's like, no, and I'm like, no, he wants to talk about it. And then we're past whatever the obvious is. You step into death like that. Especially with friends and stuff. What is it about that?
Tell what he said to you, because you didn't finish that when he called you that night.
Oh, he said, he goes, I've done too much of this. And he goes, I don't feel, you said, I don't feel, I think I should be more upset than I am. And I said, no, you're just getting good at it.
Yeah. And then that really helped, because it was like, am I going numb? What is this about? I think the reason I'm experiencing so much of that right now, loss and stuff, is I never really hung out with anybody my age. Most of my friends were 10, 15 years my senior. So I kind of got dealt I get it. Oh, she's just going to take cheap shots.
Man. And you want me to shut up?
Well, yeah. No, I just feel like, I think that came for me a little sooner than most, and it started with my father. And I don't know, man. I have that weird thing where I can be in those situations. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I just seem to, I think it's because I focus on what that person needs at the moment instead of what I think they need. And therefore it's a calming presence around them. Like at the end, my father was like, I just want Billy to sit here with me. And I'm okay with that. And if you want to talk about something, I'll talk about it. If you want me to go get you, sneak you some chicken legs from Popeyes, look, it's your last run, man. Whatever you want. I don't care. I don't judge any of that. Yeah. Like I had a buddy of mine recently, he could barely get to the porch. It was yellow from jaundice. I loved him dearly. And he wanted a cigarette, what are you going to say to a guy that has a couple weeks left?
Right.
Here, I don't know, man.
I'm not
saying that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying, I think at the point when you're looking at death, someone around you needs to not remind you of death, and someone around you needs to just be there with you and let you feel however you want to feel.
Dignity.
One of the things my father would always joke about it, because he had a pretty twisted sense of humor. Like people would come to the house at the end when he was in hospice and, how are you feeling? And he's like, how the fuck do you think I'm feeling? But he didn't want to say that to them. And then when they would leave, we would laugh. Oh yeah, a cup of orange juice is going to straighten this right out.
I had some supplements. I'm better.
Right. And that's what we laughed about. And I don't know, man. I just, I guess I look at it as a gift to be with someone as they're in that transition, man, because it's brutal. And the thing I talked to you about, because you've been through so much stuff, was, the last time I was like, I just knew what to do, but I wasn't feeling as emotional as the other ones. And I was like, am I going dead inside? And then you very, very, very kindly and very compassionately said, no, dude, you're just getting good at this. And I don't know what that did, but it clicked in my head like, oh yeah, I just still have to show up and be of service to this person. I don't have to be in a million pieces. I'm going to have my moments, but while I'm doing this, I don't have to pretend to feel something I don't feel when I know how I feel. And that kind of straightened that out for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I found after dealing with it so many times, is that we have an idea of what the right or wrong way is to be around it, to be around death itself, or to be around that person and how they're feeling. And there's not. It's just being in the moment.
Yeah. And again, I find if you focus on what they need.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to worry about if you're doing it right or doing it wrong, like you said, because there is the pressure. Am I going to get this right? I got to make it up. You know what they probably like? Find out what they like,
right? And
stay in that place. And if you're on that service plane, you're not gonna worry about how you're doing it.
And that just makes them uncomfortable,
right?
Exactly.
You never want someone in hospice worrying about taking care of you.
Yes,
you don't want that. So when my dad was going, we'd been up his ass about smoking for years. He had 4 or 5 heart attacks. And I remember seeing him the last year and he was still smoking. He couldn't, like, there was nothing that he was going to do.
Yeah.
And there was a day I just went, he knows. He's not a moron. He knows what this is going to do to him.
Right.
And I thought, I don't know how much time I have left with him. I'm just going to let him do what he wants. And I stopped bitching about it.
Yeah.
And I just,
You did?
Yep. I didn't. What for that last year? I mean, that last picture we have of him at Thanksgiving at Kathy's, he still go out and have a cigarette, and I just, that's you, man. All right, okay. You know,
Yeah, and well, my thing is
4 heart attacks didn't do it.
Yeah, and we had an old school doctor with my dad too, and and some of the younger doctors were like, tell him not to eat a lot of salt or whatever the hell. And my dad's doctor's been around 40 years. He's like, he can have whatever he wants. If he'll eat anything at this point,
right?
Go get it for him. Doesn't matter. So I just find that the compassion and the service level is how I kind of navigate those things, or try to anyway.
Well, and it makes it's already hard enough on those people.
Absolutely.
My mom, she died young, and she was obviously stressed out about it at the end. And my grandma was the same way.
Yeah.
With both of those people, they requested that I be there and that certain other people not be.
There's a reason for that.
Because I don't want to be bitched.
Especially as you get closer, you just don't, you can't. There's so much going on. The reflection of mortality.
Yeah.
Knowing that the clock's about to hit zero. You can't handle people around that are abrasive or think they know everything or think that they're going to, going to tell you how you should feel. And you got to stay positive. You know what, man? Feel how you got to feel.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a countdown with no red wire to clip.
It's
good. We're not diffusing this.
The clock is going to zero.
Yeah,
there's no way out. So, yeah, I think there's probably a reason that she knew, okay, I need Ray around.
Well, and there is
you can do that.
Also, like we've talked about this, that especially at the end, right before the transition, your hearing gets heightened.
100.
And so
100
other senses go, but that hearing, I always tell people, don't let people be in the room that are loud or obnoxious or
saying
like my sister's husband or, because they're listening more and it's more abrasive to them. Did you notice that?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially my father. Cause like I said at the end, he was just, he didn't want a lot of people around. He wanted, he wanted his privacy, he wanted his dignity, but he didn't want, I just think he was trying to find his peace. I think he was trying to find peace with the fact that this was going to happen very shortly. And so, I just apparently I don't upset those waves.
Were you with your father when he passed?
Like everything else with me and my father, we had a magical moment. He was in this chair and he had the oxygen tube, and then there's the hospice bed, and I said, I got to get you into this bed, man. And he goes, all right, well, wait till the girls go to the store. And, he goes, and I'll let you put me in there. So I grab him and I lifted him under his arms, and everything hurt. And he let out a yelp like a kid, and finally got him over to the bed, and I got him up in the bed and got his t-shirt straightened and got his blanket up on him. And all of that with lung cancer takes every breath they have. I mean, and it took 20 minutes for him to calm down. And then when he finally did, he said, Bill. I said, yeah. He goes, when are you leaving? But that's how me and my dad were. We were really funny that we always knew how to do that. And my dad was a huge Elvis fan. My dad's the only guy that I've ever met that hates the Beatles. Because in his words, those fucking hippies knocked the king off his throne. That was his thing. So we always shared Elvis together, and we would listen to songs and stuff together. And that night, I had to go back to LA the next morning, and I'd been there a week, and you kind of know that it's, you guys, you get around it closer, that we're real close. Mm-hmm. And he got to the point that afternoon where they had medicated him to keep him comfortable, and he couldn't really talk, but his eyes were still connected with me. And I got to put my hands on his face and say, you were a good father. Aww. And you made me a good father. And then as I got to the entrance of the house, I turned and did that Elvis turnaround with the hands. And then I walked away, and I went out in the car and just fell apart. And then I flew home. And the next morning when I landed, I was on my way in to work, and I got the call that he went that night. He went while I was right after we said goodbye. He went to bed and he went, and that was it.
So I don't know if you've heard about this before. How are there 2 kids?
In
You
my
and your
family,
brother?
there's 3 kids and a step kid.
Got
There's
it.
my stepbrother Tony, who I love and adore. There's my brother and my sister, and that was our family.
Who he didn't love and adore.
No.
He loves and adores them.
No, I love them all. I just want to make sure that there's an
it's the
inclusion.
same.
My stepbrother feels like he's family.
Yeah.
Right.
He's family as well.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So I remember early on when my mom got sick, she called us into the room and she said, I did not come here so you could watch me die. Because, and we were like, wait, what? We just want to take care of you. And she said, I am your mother. And I said, I talked to her and I said, I got this.
Right.
Just let me be with you. We'll figure this out.
Right.
So my mom, you do know when it's close. And now I really know. I knew with my grandma when I went to take care of her, I said to them, it's coming. Like I knew it was going to be within a few hours. My mom, I laid on her chest in that hospital bed in her living room all day to the point that I was in pain, holding her hand sideways like this. And her O2 sat kept spiking and her everything and the hospice nurse said, I've never seen anything like this. Like, I know she's going, but she won't go. And I did that for, I think, about 14 hours.
Yeah, I get that.
And because I wanted
last drops.
I want to be right for her, I thought.
I get it.
So I get into bed at 12:15 in the morning, 12:30. And the bed is right next to her hospital bed. And she went in the next 25 minutes.
After Raven.
And so I lived with guilt for a very long time. Like I abandoned her during this time. And then my grandma asked me to come take care of her. And we were all sitting with grandma. I told them it's close. I started giving her the medication for secretions and pain and everything. And she wouldn't go. We sang to her. We did everything because I didn't want to put her in that hospital bed because grandma, that would have upset her.
She wasn't having it.
No, she was in her recliner, her power chair.
Well, that's.
I started playing guitar so she would just go.
She
was like, I gotta go.
One of the last things she said to him was, "It's not your fault. You don't have any time to practice."
That was fantastic. It's not your fault. You don't have time to practice.
So we all finally around 2 in the morning.
Yeah, you guys,
my sister and I, you go take a shower. My sister and I go in the next room because we didn't want to talk loudly in front of her because it annoys her.
Yeah.
And she went in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I talked to a hospice nurse on this podcast and she said, which made me burst into tears. She said, I see it all the time. Your mom did not want you to see her die.
In the room. And I feel the same way about my father.
Yeah.
It's the, I don't
when
want
you
my
leave
kid in there.
Yeah, when you leave it.
I think he was giving me the cue. I really do.
That it's their
He was
last
joking,
little
but
bit.
he was also like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
Well, my
and
father,
I don't want you to see me do this.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say about this is that grandma, I got it. Grandma's death was such a sweet death, if I can say it like that. My dad,
there is such a thing.
In her recliner. Never
my
had
dad
Yeah.
decided that he had to sleep sitting up because his heart was encased in a bag of water. And if he laid down flat, the doctor said, your heart's just going to drown. It won't be able to beat. He's so weak, it won't be able to beat. So he just went into his bed, took all his pillows off the bed, and when they found him flat out. We didn't know. He never said that he thought it was going. I remember driving away from him, and I envy both of you. So if I can give anybody any advice, when this happens, get involved in it. I know it's death. I know it's horrible, but there is a everlasting peace with it. That's what I find. You were there. It's horrible that your dad died. It's horrible that mom died. You guys both,
I wouldn't have traded that last week for nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For
and
nothing.
I think there's so many people that want to avoid everything
Well,
hard.
you gotta, yeah,
but you regret
also, but you have to also respect where people are in that process. Like some people are not equipped for that.
Yeah.
But some people will regret it
That's
if
so
they never
true.
deal with that. It is, yeah,
It is,
tough.
but it's
How was the first
You have
one,
to
though?
protect it. Well, the first big one in my life was my father.
Okay.
And so that blew a hole in me.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that blew a hole in me. That, still hurts. But
Always will.
but I do things like I developed this pattern with him because I really miss him when things are fucked.
Mhm.
Am I allowed to swear on this thing?
Yes.
Sorry. That's when I miss him most because he was always someone I could call, and he just had a funny way of turning down the freak out. And,
Pragmatic.
just straight at it.
Yep.
Right? You know? And,
Yep.
and so what I do these days is when I'm either under the gun or I'm just really missing him, like his birthday will come up in March, March 26th will be his birthday. And that day is always tough for me.
Yeah.
But what I do is I get a cup of coffee in the morning and I go out on my back porch and I ask him whatever I want to know. And then I sit and I think about what he would say or what I think he would say. And then I hear his voice and then it's okay.
Isn't it
That's kind of what I do to
interesting
connect
how
with him.
you know?
Oh,
I do
it
that
actually,
with my mom.
that thing is what I gave to my son now. And I told him, he's away at college. And I said, listen, if you ever don't know what to do, just pretend I'm standing right next to you and it'll come to you. He goes, yeah, you're right, Pop. But we have that same connection that me and my dad had, which is great. Like we talk every Sunday, and we the things my father gave me, I have given to my son. And that's been a tremendous gift.
How tough was it losing the first friend?
First friend was brutal, man, because my buddy Matt, who he got lung cancer, never smoked a day in his life. And I just don't understand that. That's such a weird twist of, I mean, I don't know why that happens, but that broke my heart. And he was a guy too, that much like our friendship, you get a handful of guys in this life or girls in your department. My dad used to say you can go all over the pool with them. You can be in the shallow end, you can play in the middle, and sometimes we got to go out to the deep end, but we can go anywhere in the pool. And you have certain friends.
What a great metaphor.
But you understand, certain friends are here, certain friends are in the middle, certain, and I'm lucky enough to have had a handful of friends that can go all over the pool. And when you have that, that's a special bond. And when you have someone that you can talk to when you need to be vulnerable without them immediately hitting you with a hammer, but actually walking through it and then having a laugh about how crazy it actually is.
Right.
Yeah.
That was spectacular. And my friend Matt was very much like that. And watching him go, I was really mad at his death because I never picked up a cigarette.
Even sounds unfair.
Fairly healthy and stage 4 lung cancer.
No,
so you just
they
don't
never
know,
had any
man.
idea why.
No idea.
Camp Lejeune, maybe?
No, he was not a military guy. Not a military guy. But he just woke up one day in pain in his left side, and didn't know what it was. Went in, scanned. There's a giant tumor sitting there, So it's just.
He has often talked about that, never having smoked, but being a comedian in clubs all those years when you guys
the 80s,
were
the late
sitting
80s.
there blowing smoke.
The floor to the ceiling was 5 feet.
Yeah.
It was dark and there was just
I didn't just smoke. I smoked for 300 people a show.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something about when that smoke hit those lights, though. I kind of like that.
I used to remember waking up.
It was kind of that
I'd wake up
hazy.
on Sunday after 2 shows Saturday and just be like,
exactly.
The club that I ran in Louisiana, we would have to clean what I guess was tar off of the glass fixtures and stuff
just
because
a half-inch thick.
the whole thing was the
nasty,
smoking section.
Exactly.
Everyone's.
How did he deal with it? Because that does sound really unfair, and it's weird how. Look, man, the cards you're dealt are the cards you're dealt. Yeah. And how do you deal with it?
He was really good at that, man. He had a lot of grace. And that's one of the other things that I when you watch someone go through that and they finally come to that resolve, that's a powerful thing to watch. It's kind of hard to bitch about the traffic on the way home when you watch someone come to that acceptance. And to me, that's a powerful lesson. Because I can get wrapped up. Look, if I open the door at Starbucks and you don't say thank you to me,
it's gonna stick.
I want to follow you home and burn your house. I think you're a piece of shit. But when you put it in perspective, you go, okay, what am I really letting bother me?
Right.
What am I really letting bother me? So
that helped me filter people out of my life.
Yeah.
After my mom and living in what we lived in, and it was for 2 years, it was traumatic. It was life and death. We were in the hospital. There were infections and reactions and everything. And then that last month, she held on for a month. She went the night I told her to go.
Wow.
And because my grandma said she's waiting for you. She's worried about you. And I told her, and that night. But it makes you look at other people differently.
Yeah.
Especially people that are all about bullshit,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
100. And then, you know, we hopefully the gift as you age is you just realize that you can walk away from a bad relationship, whether it's friends, work, or marriage or whatever. And what you learn hopefully in age is when you walk away from that, you don't have to carry any anger about it. You can just go, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of you hitting me with this stick I hand.
She said something once, everything has a season. And
That's a great way to say that.
I've adopted it now. Where like,
it's a great way to say that.
My brother David, is just, he went off the rails, and I was like, okay, if you know, I didn't just bring a wall down, but I'm like, okay, if that's how you want to be when you get, you know, my daughter, there's things, and so I'm like, okay.
Well, it takes
I'll
away,
be here when you
so
come.
hard, man. But
takes away
that's
the
the way to go.
anger at what you're missing.
Well,
and
what's the
makes
old
you
saying?
happy for what you
If I'm
had.
angry at you, that's like taking poison and hoping you die.
Exactly.
It's not going
right.
to work. All it's going
right.
to do is give me psoriasis.
Right.
Some
And
people.
I don't want to walk around like that. I don't
No.
want to walk around angry. I don't want to walk around talking to myself. I'm too tired. I'm too old. I don't
You
want to
are
do
not that old.
Oh, I'm
Oh my
120.
God.
I've been 100 since I was 18. Man.
Yeah.
I sense that somehow
When you
true.
said that about hanging out with old people, I flashed back to my life, and I never, ever, there was no play dates. I hung out with my dad and his friends.
Yeah.
That was
That
a
was
play
really
date.
good.
That my play was like we were motorcycle race.
I think I got 3 buddies that are my age. Three dear friends that are my age. Everybody else has been 10 or 15 years old.
Were all your friends that passed away older?
Yes. Yeah. My the most recent was my friend Don in Houston, who I loved, who couldn't get a liver transplant. And then before that, my buddy Sonny, and we followed his wishes and put his ashes where he asked them to be put.
Oh dear.
I'll say that for legal reasons.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. But you know, I don't know, man. I think there's a certain nobility in helping someone, letting someone know that their last wishes will be respected.
Yep.
You know, I think there's a nobility in that.
Because there is no dignity in illness or dying.
No,
You
it's
know?
the most brutal time on earth.
You've been in the hospital.
Oh.
Being in the hospital when I was there twice in the last 2 years, there's no dignity in that.
No.
But then, especially when you're at the end of your life, it's just business to
Yeah.
those people.
It is.
And so, being able to be with someone that you love, you have that opportunity to give them a little bit of that dignity.
But
Yeah.
I think that's why, like, mom being at home and grandma being at
Yes.
home, and I've really adopted the fact when it's my time, I'm gonna be like, no, I'm not going. I am not going.
Well, we've talked about our exit strategy.
Yeah.
I don't love.
I'm not
the
sure you
plan
want to know
you
that.
guys
guy.
have.
I think we have a
Yeah, we
great
keep it up.
plan. I think we have a great
He
plan.
says it
Yeah.
to me all the time.
I
Like, just
have a
Oh, you're
a
not
movie
suffering.
will remind him, a commercial will come on, and he'll just,
Yeah.
babe, I'm just telling you, I'm not going out like that.
Well, what I'm
You
not
do the math.
look,
You got-
everybody has a different way of doing it. Like my father, when he got it, you know, they said if you do chemo, we can elongate
Mm.
for 6 months or maybe
Yeah.
whatever. And he was like, nah, nope, I'm done.
How old was he?
He was 75.
Your
Okay.
mom is alive, right?
My mom is alive.
What did
yes.
she think about that?
Well, they're divorced. So
Okay.
he has his wife, my stepmom, Dory, who's
Got it.
just the most fantastic human being on earth. You know, man, she respected his wishes too. And I think that's what gave my dad peace and my wife respected his wishes as
Yeah.
well. Instead of going, you gotta,
Right.
gotta. He didn't want to do that. And that's not what he wanted to do. And so I think you formulate your own plan, but our idea, I think, is the best.
Do you want to share with the people?
Sure. If I ever get a terminal diagnosis, I think there's a couple weeks of parties, and then it's time.
What kind of parties?
Anything and everything.
What are
It
we
doesn't
talking
matter.
Have
about
you ever
here?
seen Fear and Loathing in Las
Yeah,
Vegas?
there
Yes,
you go.
Hunter Biden party, something like
No,
that.
Hunter Thompson.
Hunter Thompson.
And
Hunter
then-
Biden.
No, I know.
Same
well,
thing.
it's
Hunter
the
Thompson
same
way
thing.
worse
and
than
then
Hunter
time
Biden.
with the family, and then just after watching my friends go through it, I think I would opt to drink that little sleepy night cocktail.
Yeah.
And not put
And
my
I-
family through that stuff.
I agree with this, and it's
And that's now look, everybody does
Only
it a
because
different
I've
way,
seen-
but for me personally, I
Yeah.
think that's what I would do.
I've seen people fight it, and what ends up happening is, they don't have a technology chemo doesn't work. Chemo is a 98% failure rate. that
It's a delay game.
yeah, just
Yeah.
being a
delay.
fact guy. I'm like, well, if it 98% doesn't work,
Yeah.
I don't know if I
Yeah.
want to play that
Yeah.
game. And also I kind of took a minute, and I don't know, you have to get. I got to a place where I'm like, after that thing with the dentist, when I saw that it doesn't matter anyway, I was like, okay, I've done my good work here, and I would be okay with it. And I don't want to. I don't want to put you or anybody through.
What if the
That
doctor
nightmare.
told you, we believe that we could eradicate the cancer?
I've dealt with too many family law attorneys who said we can get this case solved, and I'm like, nah,
That's so great.
nah, you're full of shit.
I don't know, man. I've just seen it up close enough times that I don't think I want
It's
to do that.
brutal.
Yeah, I just don't want to do it. Watching somebody slowly have less breaths
Yeah.
in that last month is the most painful thing to watch.
But
anybody
also
go
the
through,
hope that they build, and then that gets taken away again.
Yeah, and then it gets
that
taken away.
taken
And every
away
doctor's
again, and
visit,
that gets
and
taken
towards
away
the, as you
again.
guys know, at the end, every doctor's visit is worse.
Yes.
And then they just go, well, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
You need to call.
But thanks for the
somebody else. I know.
95 grand
Yeah.
and,
Yeah,
and the second mortgage
exactly.
on your house that your relatives got to pay for.
A lot of
now.
people don't know this, but there are some states that are right to die, and California being one of those. You get a prescription.
I thought I was going to have to go to Washington.
No, we got.
No,
we got-
you're good.
Now that
We're
we
good
have
now.
it here, that's great.
Yeah, in
That's
Washington and California now, you can what is it? The where they use your body as fertilizer, basically.
Right.
Compost.
Compost. Yes.
I have nothing against someone who wants to go to the last minute either. I want to be clear about that. I have zero judgment. I just think for me, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do that.
I think the right to die
I think it's
laws. Yes.
Agreed.
Yes,
That's- I
which
mean, that's
we
my
have
opinion.
for dogs, but not
Yeah,
for people
it's okay
everywhere.
for your pets, but not you.
Right.
It gives people something that they don't have typically in that phase at
You
the
get
end.
an end date.
They get to choose
Yeah.
something. They get to
We're in the
control
end
it.
game now, Tony.
Yeah. I'm in charge. That's exactly
Yeah.
it. And, you know, I'm a control freak.
also-
I'm a control freak
I
anyway.
am too, and that really speaks to me that I could go. No,
Yeah.
I'm going on the 20th.
Yeah,
It's my
exactly.
birthday.
Well, by the way, 18th and 19th.
I'm going to start on
huge
August
party.
20th, and I'm leaving on August 20th. Exactly.
There you go.
I kind of like that.
There are the largest majority of states, you guys, you can go online and look at this. The largest majority of states do not allow it. It's obviously West Coast states,
Mhm.
Washington, Oregon, California, Montana, oddly enough.
Just be our own
Um,
country at this point, I think.
It
We
looks
just
to be
want-
about 10 states that allow it.
Yeah. Well, that's how weed started too. So
Yeah,
we'll see what
yeah.
happens.
We're slowly.
We need to build a wall from
disseminating.
Canada past Washington, Oregon, down California, and just hit to San Diego. And just, that's because we'd be the 5th largest economy in the world. We're already way progressive, with coming up with ideas.
We're technically
You know,
fourth
man,
largest now.
I've been thinking a lot about that lately. I don't think people are inherently bad. I think we've had bad leadership.
Amen.
And I think too many people are too quick to not look at the fact. You know, the greatest thing my dad ever taught me about voting, he said, never look at what the politician's saying. Never listen to the news. Go to gov.org or whatever it is. Look up how your representative voted on the thing that you care about.
Yep.
That'll tell you the whole story. Doesn't matter what they come and say. Go look at how they voted.
Yeah.
That tells you you can't run from that.
Right. You did.
Did
what
you vote
did.
for higher wages? Is he better for your tax bracket? Did he
Yeah.
vote for health care? Did he vote for? So if he didn't, that's not the guy you want to vote for. If he
Interesting.
did, and it doesn't matter what they say.
I just
Right.
Go
did this
look
with
at the
our guy.
voting
I
record.
just did this with our guy, Brad Sherman. Because I think, what's this guy doing for our district?
Go look.
I did. I looked it up. He's actually
Yeah,
process-
and when
he's
you-
actually good. I was like, okay.
He's
well, you
not
find
calling you 'cause
but
he's
you
busy.
find,
Yeah,
you find
he's actually
surprises.
getting shit
you
done.
find surprises
Yeah.
on both sides,
Yeah.
and I think that's important. Man. I think it's important.
Have you had any inexplicable things happen? Where
Little signals?
something, because we're not real homina people, but I had a
No,
couple
I'm a
of
big.
really
I
weird
actually,
thing.
I'm a huge fan of the spiritual.
Yeah.
That thing happened with my dad.
I believe there are just look. I tell my son all the time. There's 2 maps. Okay, there's the map you buy at the store from Rand McNally, and you open it, and it's paper and physical, and it's in front of you. Then there's the map of the artist, which is omens and signs. Now you can't go tinfoil hat read into
Right,
every
exactly,
goddamn door that comes
Right.
open by accident. But I believe if you're open to that, there are little kind of mystical things. And like life, the universe just has a symmetry. Like my best friend Joe, his dad passed on my son's birthday. 20 years later, or 17 years later, my dad passed on his birthday.
Wow.
So I just believe there's a connective tissue that goes on in the
Yeah.
universe if you're open to seeing that. And to me, that's beautiful. That
Yeah.
doesn't ruin those days. That makes me realize how close we are.
Have you had
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you had any like when my dad died, I had a couple of incidents where his voice was right here, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I've felt his presence before, and then the Elvis thing with him.
Yeah.
It seems like whenever I'm thinking about him, and I'll be flipping through the dial on the radio because I'm 100 and I still listen to the radio.
Yeah.
There'll be an Elvis song.
You've
or-
mentioned
or
maps
some-
and radio.
Well, there
now,
you go.
'cause-
It's just, I told you, I'm not from this timeline.
He's got a sextant in his car. That's his. He's
some
little,
weird shit. I feel like Doctor Strange. I just landed in the wrong universe, man. I'm trying to get back, but there are little things that he would do, or you know, what this is weird too. I have the same hand printing as my father. Like it's almost identical, and I never tried to copy it, or I never tried it, but it is eerily creepy. And I have his I have some of his same OCD. Like I can only write with a Parker Jot or Click pen. Like that's what he had.
Yeah.
I got to make notes and lists incessantly, and he does that. So all those little things connect me to him. And just once in a while, man, I can't explain it, but I just feel him. I feel his presence in the room. I'm like, hey, Pop, I just know he's there.
Yeah.
And that might be my crazy, but I'm at peace with it, but I do feel him. If I do something
know
like that, I just feel, I feel.
My
I feel
40th birthday, my mom passed away right before I turned 40. And it's still hard for me to even say that out loud.
Sure.
Welcome to the comedy podcast.
36, man. It's a tough one.
But that was like a big deal birthday.
Yeah.
And I've had a few things happen that I wasn't looking for, but I guess I was open, like you said.
Right.
But I ran upstairs. We were having a big party and everyone was there to get on the party bus. And I ran upstairs to our bedroom, and all of the sudden it was the strangest thing. There was such a presence in the room,
Right.
and the room had a like rose gold glow. This glow was everywhere.
I totally believe you.
And I was grabbing my shoes, and I was stopped in my tracks, and I just sat down on the bed and just breathed and just felt that presence. And it was like her just letting me know, I'm here. You're not alone. It was the weirdest, most comforting, warm feeling ever. And I've now had 2 dreams. So after I lost my grandma, I was just devastated. My grandma was my best friend after my mom, who really stepped in, and I dreamt about her. And in the dream, she was standing right here next to me, and I turned and looked up at her, and she looked down at me, and the room glowed like that. And she just looked right in my eyes for the longest time. And like a million megabits of info went back and forth. And I woke up so at peace about her and where she is. And it's
You've been
just
talking about
That's
how
the
come I can't
map.
see my
That's the
mom?
map I was talking about.
Yeah, how come
That's
I can't
the
see
map.
you? Talking about it. How come my mom hasn't come to me? She for a couple of years. You were like
7
that.
years.
And then it happened, and you were like,
A couple
okay,
months
yeah.
ago, for the first time, I dreamt about her. And in my dream, I knew I was dreaming, and I knew I was present.
I think, and I may be wrong in your case, but I think what that is when you're ready to let go, it's okay for them to let you know it's okay.
He said that
Yeah, I
I
agree with
wasn't.
that. You finally went.
He
okay.
said I was creating that. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not creating anything.
I want to see her tonight. Whoa.
But I was
On the other
present.
realm, they're like, hey, she's a little heightened.
We're going to give her another
Tonight's
year.
not good. You guys shouldn't come over tonight. Yeah. No, I totally,
very intense.
I totally get that.
But I got to just be with her in this room. And in my dream, I knew I was in bed asleep. I knew I was finally seeing her. I knew that when I was ready, I could walk out of the room and wake up.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me and just glowed and smiled. And
I think that's beautiful.
I started crying, and she just looked like confused and sad by it, but she never spoke.
Right.
And so I realized it was upsetting her. And so I stopped and I just said, I love you so much. And she just smiled at me again. And this went on, I would say,
Okay, but hold on.
an hour
Hold
maybe.
On. You were crying and she was confused. You said, I love you. And she smiled.
Yeah.
So
she was
you were
peaceful
ready.
again.
You were ready to go. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
And
Yeah.
instantly you got
Yeah.
you got what you got that she was confused, and you checked yourself like, oh right, you're here.
I'm weird.
What I wanted
as usual
happened, and now I'm upset about it. And
Yeah.
then that's cool. What's the hardest thing so for people to deal with? Because look, we all love our friends, we love our family, we want to be there for them. And what was the hardest thing you had to go through, and how did you deal with it with your friends passing?
Man, it's just the heartbreak of realizing that there's going to be less of that laugh in the room.
Yeah.
And there's going to be one less chair at Thanksgiving. And there's going to be one less thing that you do with that person in your life. That's a piece of your life peeling away.
Mhm.
Peels away. So I try to channel that back into really being present and loving the people that are here.
Mhm.
Because if I'm losing that routine, I need to really treat the other routines that are still here, like treat that preciously. And when I can get there, then that's a cool place to be, I
The
think.
one thing I always say about my dad, I wasn't there when he passed, but him and I in the last 5 years of his life had such a connection. Anything that I held on to, I had let go.
Right.
He didn't believe it for about 2 years. And then he was finally like, I started listening to him and go,
That's fantastic.
I got his wisdom. And then it took him 2 years to actually believe it wasn't a trick.
I get that.
And then we were best friends. And so when he passed, I didn't have, but there's other people in my family that didn't have that clearing with him. And so I would say the best advice to everybody is the people in we all think it's going to be forever, man. Everybody, that thing you're holding on to, like we have people in our family that are holding on to crazy, meaningless shit.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is, you're just ruining there's love missing from your life,
Right.
which is, we only get this shot. What are you doing?
Right.
And it's all meaningless. Forgive and have that love back in your life. And I know it sounds trite, but it's the only thing that works.
Listen, man,
Yeah.
love is the most powerful weapon on earth, and it's the last one we reach for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like when I was heavy, I was 370.
Jesus.
A million people told me, take a walk and eat some fish. Go fuck yourself. Like that's never run.
Telling you.
That's like never
you've
run.
never met Billy.
It's like, but that's never run through a heavy person's
Right,
head.
exactly.
But I like, oh my God, what else have you created?
Eureka.
You're so stupid. But the point I bring up with that is I took that attitude when I was heavy. Like I'd look in the mirror and go, you need to lose weight, you piece of shit. Get it together. God damn. Don't you have any fucking... Nothing changed until I started. I had a friend of mine who's kind of a mentor of mine spiritually. And he said, how much do you love your son? And I thought he was going to go at me like the guilt you try to put on me. But then you got to do it for your son. Yeah, I get it. But he took it a different way. No, I get what you were saying. And that's a friendship too. Yeah. But what he said was heavier. He goes, how much do you love your son? I said, I'd fucking die for my son. He was like, would you give him a kidney? Said, yeah. Would you teach him as good as you can so he can survive this world? I said, I try to do that. She says, have you ever loved anything more unconditionally than your son? And I said, no. He said, I need you to give yourself 50% of that.
Wow.
So when you look in the mirror, say, I'm going to take care of you like I take care of Will today. I'm going to love you like I love my son. And I started doing that. And all of a sudden I was ready to make a change.
Just read this. It's interesting.
It's one of the hardest things to do.
Oh, yeah.
That our go-to, you're right, is not love.
The go-to is not love. The go-to is defend,
yes.
justify, conquer.
Grind
How many
down.
times I say to you, stop being so hard on yourself? How many times I say, stop, like, stop talking bad about yourself.
Now do you see why you're not his spiritual advisor? That guy is.
We're just both looking for the train on different levels.
Yeah.
I am in a constant inquiry. I'm by the way, I may come at it wrong all the time, but
I like those little revelatory things. Like my wife is just fearless.
She is a badass.
She's like you. She's a fucking warrior.
Yeah.
And you two have to be warriors to live with us. But
I'm always thrown into this group.
again, no one's talking to you.
I know exactly.
No, but I mean, she clicked one of those tumblers in my head right before I left Los Angeles, because I was about to leave LA before Mike and Molly hit. And my wife said, and our marriage was really at a tough place, man. I was trying to quit drinking. We had a baby, no money. I mean, it was as chaotic as could be, arguments and all that. But she said to me, if we're going to be out here for one more year, she goes, stop bitching about the traffic and the people and how they don't have as good a pizza and blah, 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 blah. She said, actually grow where you're planted.
Wow.
She said, I want to hear you say positive things about Los Angeles for this next year. And I did.
You got Mike and Molly.
It took off, yeah.
So you're saying
she's
if I don't bitch about traffic, I'm going to get a Chuck Lorre TV show.
I don't know. I just know that she changed my direction.
Yeah,
because
that's
I
amazing.
believe negative energy out, that's what you're going to attract.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
I do too.
You know?
We had to talk about this, Matt. It's such a great phrase. Grow where you're planted.
Grow where you're planted, man.
And it's
and
so,
I got to tell you, and you're a California boy. I have to tell you, and I don't mean to interrupt, but dude, I've fallen in love with Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, I've had miraculous things. I had a spiritual awakening out here. I got sober out here. I have a son out here. I got my career out here. California has been, and Tom Petty's words, California's been good to me. Man.
Yeah.
I love it here. I really love
What's
it.
always when I hear people online, I was like, California, I'm like, hey, yeah, you're right. Don't show up.
That's what I did.
You're right. It sucks. Don't come here. Please don't.
I did that to my father-in-law when he come out here, because he's a very right-wing guy, and we just have a rule, man. You come to the house, let's visit family. We won't talk politics. But
Right.
I couldn't help but take a little swipe when he was getting on the plane. I said, now listen, when you get on that plane and get back to Georgia, I want you to tell them you saw mudslides, fires, cartels. Tell them I was eating a baby.
Everybody had a
"What?"
strap on, and they were all a different genre
Just
than
don't
their
want
head.
anybody coming out here.
Yeah,
That's all.
Don't send anybody. We don't need it. We're good. It's horrible. Tell them it's horrible.
And he even laughed at that because he had such an amazing time while he was out here. It was very cool.
We had a niece. Remember, she came out. She first got.
She had heard how horrible California is because my brother and his wife are very conservative.
Right.
And she was expecting people to be evil and eating babies. And she's now stationed out here, but she was like,
adrenochrome
everyone's so
dispensaries.
nice
That's what
here.
they were looking for.
And conversely, it's not all that way over there either.
No.
We've
Right,
been
correct.
pitted against each other, and we've lost the fact that this place
Well,
was founded.
Alabama's like it. Alabama.
Maybe I might give you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say Alabama.
And
But we have
Mississippi.
been pitted against each other in a way that I don't ever remember us being.
No.
I really don't.
Yeah.
It takes one guy. It just takes one guy
I
to
really
open
don't
the door.
remember us being that bad.
It was
to
the
each
first
other,
time I've ever understood the fish rots from the head down. It was
Yes.
the first time I realized, I saw it on a
Absolutely.
national scale. And
Absolutely.
I was like, oh. So
My
what I-
grandma died at 89, and she would tell us, because we'd say, have you seen it like this? And she would say, no. Not
And that's
at
someone who's been
all.
here for 8-9 decades.
Yeah.
you know what I miss about her? She had this weird grandma. And when you say what you miss the most is you're never going to have. There was moments of wisdom that would just kind of bubble out of her, and she wasn't Yoda. She wasn't sitting down and going, "Let me explain it to you."
No, it just came.
She
out
would
of
just
her, right?
pop some
Yeah.
stuff, and you'd be like, wait,
Yeah.
whoa, and I think that's what I miss. That's what I miss from my dad. My dad was so weirdly funny. When he tried to be funny, he wasn't funny. But when he would just say some crazy
Grandma,
shit.
unintentionally.
Yeah,
funny.
and I would, and it would have this amazing core of wisdom, and it was hilarious. And I'm taking that. She says you say about grandma all the time. Oh, I'm stealing that.
Or she
Sometimes
don't
she
you
would
put
turn
that
her
on stage.
Well, my wife always says, she goes, "You're just a hack version of your father."
Totally.
And I'm like, keep it down.
Yeah.
It's done well for us
Yeah,
so far.
yeah,
Keep
yeah.
that down, man.
I
Don't let
was
that out of the
thinking
bag.
that. So the end of this show that I'm doing, Beauty for Ashes, is me having a revelation because I'm angry that she's gone, and it ends with me spreading her ashes.
Yeah.
And I'm screaming at God and at her. And I look down in the water, and this actually happened in the ocean where I was raised, where my mom was married, same spot. And I looked down in the water and I saw her feet. And
Her feet.
I realized that they were my feet.
Yes. You know what?
And I got it.
It's with, I have you. This is my dad. It's my thumbs.
Yeah.
This knuckle is smaller than this knuckle. and it's exactly like his hands were.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the more I look at I'm like, they're my father's hands. I have my father's hands. I have that same thing.
It's
Is
so-
that what you?
Same
That's
thing.
same shit.
And I
right?
got
Isn't that
it.
crazy?
Like literally the same. I'm like,
It's
okay.
crazy. And with me and my
Because-
son, it's the big toes.
Yeah.
We got
The
crooked
insanity.
toenails. They're just off a little bit. They like point in a little
The
bit.
insanity of losing someone is that the world moves on, right? And so
Mhm.
you feel almost like it was a dream. Did I dream that?
Yeah.
Was he ever really here?
Right.
Was she ever really? And that was the moment that it all came home for me.
Wow.
Was standing in that water and realizing, oh, I'm proof
There you are.
that she existed.
You are our
right,
greatest
which makes
proof.
me prove that God exists. It was
That
this
I'm
whole-
with you 100%. And I'm a big fan of God. I don't much care for his fan club these days.
I don't either.
But
Yeah,
the guy I believe
his
in.
boosters aren't the best crew. His first 12 guys were great.
Yeah.
These guys,
But
not so
I
much.
do. I that's where I find what I believe to be God is in those moments.
Totally.
I really, that's where I find God. in those moments,
You're right. His fan club right now is really terrifying and not at all like what I grew up with, like
No.
with my grandma.
No.
My grandma died in service of people at 89.
Yeah.
She was still volunteering at the hospital. She was still picking up the old people.
Meals
She
on
was
wheels for
delivering
people
meals on
older than
wheels.
she was.
Dude, that's
I mean,
that-
younger than
that-
she
I
was.
love that though. That's that generation. You know,
Totally.
they're surviving what they survived somehow brought them. They were able to put their emotions aside to get
Yes.
done what needed to get done.
Business.
And we have lost that ability. We have lost the ability to not act on emotion.
It's all about how I feel.
But we've also lost the ability, I think, and this is a big one. And you actually made me realize it when you talk about what you do for people. I thought service, people even talk about, like, it was a practice thing years ago where you would help other people. You just, that was part of your life. You went and did something nice for somebody. And that just doesn't seem to be the way anymore.
Well,
I'm not saying
I
there
found
aren't
out the
people-
secret. No, I'm with you. I found out the secret to not thinking about myself is to help somebody
Yep.
else.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the trick bag. But
Yep.
can you get there? Can you get over your emotion to get to that?
Yeah.
But if you can, it goes pretty smoothly.
I found some of you guys don't know this, but Billy and Titus both performed for the Salvation Army benefit that
was
we
a fun
did.
night.
Yeah.
You
It
guys
was
made me go back on stage.
it
Oh,
was
good too.
you were incredible.
Yeah.
And we were like,
Stand
oh
up
my
double.
God. I have heard, as hard as you are on yourself,
Yep.
everyone that, because we had a lot of friends there, all of the calls that we got were about how great you were. And we were both like,
That's
hello,
very nice.
hello. Yeah, it was nice for you.
That was nice.
Not necessarily nice for either one of us.
Well, you could be happy for me.
I'm very
Could you not?
We're very
I
happy.
hide in my
You
house.
guys
But
sent
when was, the,
me
when
out.
was the last time you'd been on
You
stage?
guys stayed in the
you've done a couple
foxhole.
ones
I
here.
actually, November 30th, and then a couple nights ago, I went up. My friend Daryl Hammond called me, and
How's Daryl doing? Buddy?
he's doing good, man. And, you know, me and him were open micers together.
Wow.
Wow.
That was our open mic night. It was me, him, Tom Rhodes was already a feature act.
Oh, Tom.
Wow.
Larry the Cable Guy.
Tom Rhodes was ahead of you guys?
Yeah, he was a little bit ahead of us.
Wow.
And Carrot Top.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And right down the street was some of the Florida guys that popped. But we had quite an eclectic group. So he called me the other night and he's like, "Hey, man," he goes, "I'm going to this show." He goes, "You want to come get beat up?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll ride with
Is it
you."
the Improv?
No, we went and did this gig. I think it was at the Roosevelt Hotel, and it ended up being a very fun night. I surprised myself because I don't know, man. I don't know what. When COVID hit, I went in the house.
Yeah.
Like Richard Pryor says,
Yeah.
I went in the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
I just didn't come back out because I was heavy. I had all the fucking things. I had heavy type 2 diabetes,
Yeah.
smoker, sleep
Right.
apnea, asthma. Like it was outside doing push-ups waiting for me.
Right.
So-
As you
So-
said, COVID was in the bushes.
It was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
hide
yeah.
and wait.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
come
right.
out here, Billy. And I was like, you know what, man, I'm just going to sit it out for a minute. But what that did was, you know, stand up is such a spectacular art form, but it is one that if you're not constantly sharpening your blade,
Totally.
it goes away from you. Your nerve goes away. Your strength to convey message
Mhm.
goes away.
Timing.
It's just all of it. It's
Damon
the one.
Wayans said to me,
I always say I always say it's the one craft in show business that you can't practice in the mirror. You don't get another
Yep.
take. You can't hide in a song.
Yep.
It's live or die every moment.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the high of it.
Yes.
But when you're
Yep.
away from it for a long time, like I've been 2.5 years without it, to just get back up there was something. But I've also chalked it up to, I lost 170 pounds. So I'm not the same guy up there.
Yeah.
I don't walk the stage the same way. I don't sound the same. So, and there's so much different things that have happened in my life. So I'm trying to figure that out. And I actually had fun the other night because I'm getting to what I'm enjoying is going to places they don't know me. I'm not advertised, and then I can just be free to actually be a comic. And if I have to suck, I suck. If I don't, and if I find one, I get to find one. And so lately, there's been a little bit of that, which has been kind of fun.
You look so different.
Yeah, it's
you
crazy.
could.
I don't recognize
you
myself.
could get on stage as Bob, and people may not realize it.
And then you got to think too,
until you talk.
When it's a young audience, they have no idea. I
Yeah.
always tell them, I go, I'm from the land of sitcoms. We used to watch that on a contraption called a television. You didn't have to like, subscribe. You just watch that shit and go right to bed.
Yeah.
It was a simpler time. But I think it's a more pure way. If you can win them over without credits, I think it's a more pure way to actually find funny material. So I've actually been enjoying.
I'm a
kind
pro
of
at
going
that,
to these
actually.
things.
I'm very-
That's what
I've been enjoying it though.
Lately, I've known because of this podcast and stuff. There's younger people are showing up to my shows, and it's interesting. They don't know my stand up.
No,
and it's
young.
always good when you get them because they're like, oh, okay, that was
all right.
Yeah, that wasn't people that were writing on Norman Rockwell or writing on Love is Evil. They're like, what do you got now?
Well, see, they were so young the other night. I did one not too long ago. Flappers. I just walked up. Okay, I know I look like one of your dads is here to pick you up. I'm on your side. Just hear me out. Is all I'm asking. I'm on your side. I promise you. I'm rooting for you.
Do you notice a difference being thin now as to what you
can pull off?
What you can pull off.
Yeah, I'm still finding that. I had to give myself permission to just absolutely eat it again. I had to get out of my head. You've been on TV, so you got to be funny and you got to, you can't ever suck, which was a great thing for the first 30 years of my life. But I had to give myself permission. You just got to go eat it, man.
Yeah.
You're a different shape. You're a different size. You're thinking about different things.
Yeah.
You don't know what those words are yet. So it's like writing a song. You got to go suck.
Such great advice. This new show, this Carrie Monsters is done. It's the best thing ever. And I know what the next one is. The next one, as I set the bar, and the next one's going to be, I'm already like, oh man.
Yeah, you're a psycho.
And as I'm doing with Jet,
I admire that. You are very prolific.
And her too.
What do you got, 10 now?
This is his 10th.
That's insanity.
10, 90 minutes.
That's insane. My last
Notice how he had to chase it with 90 minutes.
Yeah, because there we go. The 45. Like, no.
Listen, he doesn't know where the light is. That's
Exactly.
You're not the first person to say that.
To put that in perspective for you, my special, I have a half hour and an hour. The hour was in 2010. That's how long it's been since.
But you've been on television
since
then.
That's been the greatest gift. I set out to go be a sitcom guy, and that worked out for me. You've been through that. Yeah. I really love that. But that's the other thing. In the 2.5 years that I wasn't doing stand up, you're on a set. Someone's bringing you a latte, and you're like, "Why the fuck am I? What I want to go to Detroit?
Why do I want to get on a plane?
I'm in pretend Detroit.
And I have to get up at 5:45 to do radio to some people that don't like me anyway. Is that what I'm doing now?
Well, and I think I got a little soft. But like I said, lately that there's a weird itch. Like when I came and saw you at Flappers, and I saw you open for him, you guys were wonderful, and I got that when you see somebody do it well. I went and saw Ian Bagg, who's been incredibly supportive, and Alonzo Bowden and Leno. Leno's been breaking my bus. You need to get up there. Come on, you know how to do this. What are you doing? Yeah. This guy's doing a show right now.
Yeah, still.
And I feel very honored that, Steve Byrne, like these people, you guys have been reaching out and going, what are you doing? And so when enough people that you respect say that to you, you have to look at it.
Yeah, we know how good you are.
Well, how good I was.
No,
we'll see what comes out next.
I sit next to you or I'm on the phone with you, and it's the same guy. The same guy that busts my balls is the same guy busting the audience balls on stage. And you have this amazing ability to, I always said it, it's in a conversation too, and you do it on stage. You clear things up so quickly that it's shocking.
Yes.
Like you know what I mean?
Dan
You cut
It
through
cuts
it.
right
My
to
buddy
it.
Dan French once said to me, he goes, "You just rip the meat." He goes, "You rip the meat off the bone." He
Yeah.
goes, "There's no finesse with you."
No.
It's interesting
No.
because so many comics.
But I'm not a confrontational guy. I'm not a you need to do this
No.
guy. I'm
No.
more of a are you guys fucking seeing this too?
Yeah.
Like I'm that
Yeah.
guy.
I'm
you
not
know
the
what I
only
mean?
one, right?
I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
But
insanity.
who else
Exactly.
has that voice? Like, and I don't mean that voice, but also that voice.
Yeah, that voice.
That, but nobody
My dad said,
sounds
he said
like
it.
you.
He goes, should have been on the top of an ambulance. Get out of the way. There's been a wreck.
You,
I like your dad
there's
a lot.
been a wreck. There's
You
been
would
a
have
wreck.
loved my father did.
I don't think anybody is you. I don't. So there's
I
a
don't think anybody's
missing.
any of us, you know.
There's a. I would argue that some comedians definitely have modeled themselves after people that came
I think
before
that's
them.
part of learning. I think that's, anybody who comes and thinks they're just all original, I just stop talking to.
Right.
Or you do the
you know.
thing you did with a comic at Flappers, and you
Right.
give them
Here's a
you
tie.
give them the
Here's a
lecture.
tie.
Here's it. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. I was searching for that when I was very, very young about, I got to be original and I got to have my own fucking And I saw this interview late at night. Remember VH1
Yep.
behind the
Yep.
behind when we return on
Right.
Behind the Music.
Right.
Well, they were doing it with Santana, and he was talking about playing notes, and he said, "I have to play the same notes as Keith Richards, but it's the way I tune my guitar that lets you know it's me, and it's the way Keith Richards tunes his guitar that lets you know it's him. We're both got to play C, A, B, D, E, F,
Yeah.
F sharp, but how I arrange those and how I tune my guitar is what makes me unique." And that took the pressure off of, I don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No.
Yeah.
I have to find out what my authentic self
You're just
is.
bringing
And
out
once I
your
find
wheel.
that,
Right.
then I can go. And that really helps.
This is the thing with her and Jed. As I told her, I said, it'll come. It'll come. You just keep being you. Just keep doing what you do.
Is-
100.
Is
You're
doing
there,
stand
by the
up
way.
part of
Yep.
your fulfilled life? Is
I
that
am eternally grateful to stand up. The time I started, the guys I got to watch when I started, as far as I got, like I know there's guys that are, doing football arenas now, which is amazing to me. I got
Yeah.
up to about the 3,000 seat level, and I was very proud of that. And it was great to be in that fraternity, and I have the highest respect for it, which I think is what keeps me from going at it quicker than I am, is because I don't want to not be good at it.
yeah.
So like I said, I have to go through this thing where I figure out, who this guy is now again. But instead of having that become an onus, lately it's been kind of fun.
But the
It's been
conversation
kind
we
of
had,
fun.
you're taking it on though.
That was a great one.
You're taking it
Yeah.
on like, oh, okay, this is.
I'm different.
You're
So we have
not.
to play
Yeah, you're
different.
not going to be. Hey, I'm this guy. Bada booda. You're going
No.
to be like what you're.
I'm
gonna,
not a big lumbering presence anymore.
But I know what you're. But like just the.
But I still
conversation-
have the same soul. But how do I present that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So we all come up through this thing where like we're just loud and yelling and stuff, and then you get older and you're like, okay, now I have an opinion. I have enough wisdom to have an opinion that's the correct opinion.
Yeah.
And how do I get that
How
across
do I
without being
convey that?
preachy and being
Right.
funny?
I don't want to preach. It
That's
turns
what-
me off. I know
Yeah.
it turns other people off.
But
Shut up. Get
the
off your
depth of this
soapbox.
next show is going to be, just what we talked about. The depth of it is going to be awesome.
Well, what you helped me with the other day and showing me a different kind of writing, I think that's what musicians did, man. You get to a place where you're like, I can play this really good, but I want to know how to play something else.
Right.
So let me collaborate and find out what part of that I can add to what I do that makes
Yeah.
me have a new thing that I want to run towards. And that's what I'm trying to get to.
You got it.
I have to say, not knowing your dad, but hearing about your dad, you are your dad.
I am my dad.
And in the way that
you
you
should have been on
say-
top of an ambulance.
I
It's the funniest shit I've ever
Get out
heard
of the
about your
way,
voice.
there's been a wreck.
Whenever when I used to have these horrible teeth, man. I had teeth that I could eat a chain link
Too,
apple
man.
through a fence.
If you look
right?
at the three of us, hi, welcome to California.
yeah, cling,
All
cling,
of
cling.
it.
Yeah.
But when I got my teeth fixed and all the caps put on, my father would say, "You're lying through your new teeth." It's just he always
I
had
love
that way
him.
of hitting me, dude. He
You
was
say
great.
things like you said, he said, like even you
Yeah.
tell Will there's two
There's
maps.
two maps.
It's like you're right. He has
Do you
these
have
very
the guts to believe in the Pirates of the Caribbean map, that compass, or are you just going to stick with what they got at the store? because that one didn't work for me.
What do you want people to say about you at your funeral?
First time he said to me, "You're always in the red. You're always in Titus.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
always
He's
in the
always
red.
penning.
You're always."
Well, I knew he'd understand. He's a hot rod guy.
yeah.
He's
Needles
just
in the red.
always in the red. Just, dude, we can slow down anytime now. What would I like people to say about me when I'm gone?
Yeah,
He did no harm.
I like it.
How about that?
And I can see it. Thank you so much. For
I love
being
you
here.
both dearly.
We love you dearly
You more.
too. Thank you.
And my wife loves you and
I
sends her
love your wife,
and,
too. You got a good one.
She said to tell you hi.
Oh my God! It's always what happened to
This
me.
is what it's like to be Billy's
I made this
brother.
happen. She's part. I raised her.
We
Oh my God.
we all need to get together and break bread against
He
her.
invented
Yeah,
me.
Do that.
I would
do
love that. Guys, this has been another episode of Knock 'em Dead with one of our absolute favorite human beings on this planet, Mr. Billy Gardell. For
Thank you,
myself, Christopher Titus, MBG, thank you so much.
Thanks for being on, man.
It's not hard to talk to you too.
Yeah.